Hello everyone, welcome back to Metis IS. This is Sonia Gupta and we are continuing with our series of Panchayati Raj institutions. We have already seen in the previous video about the achievements of Panchayati Raj, right? So if you have not watched them, please do watch them. And before that, even we have done salient features of it. And let me tell you that without knowing the salient features, without knowing what were the objectives of Panchayati Raj, you won't be able to understand what are the challenges, because there are certain tasks which remain unfulfilled during the act formation, which were not implemented properly, and that led to challenges in its functioning over the period of time. So if you have not watched those lectures, please do watch them. And now we'll be continuing with our challenges part of PRI. So as I told you before, that any challenge Hello everyone, welcome back to Metis IS. This is Sonia Gupta and we are continuing with our series of Panchayati Raj institutions. We have already seen in the previous video about the achievements of Panchayati Raj, right? So if you have not watched them, please do watch them. And before that, even we have done salient features of it. And let me tell you that without knowing the salient features, without knowing what were the objectives of Panchayati Raj, you won't be able to understand what are the challenges, because there are certain tasks which remain unfulfilled during the act formation, which were not implemented properly, and that led to challenges in its functioning over the period of time. So if you have not watched those lectures, please do watch them. And now we'll be continuing with our challenges part of PRI. So as I told you before, that any challenge any challenge you can divide it into three parts, right? See here, what were the challenges? There can be that when the act was formed, there are certain lacunas in the act only, or there are certain things missing in the act, right? Those can be one thing. When institutions are formed, in those institutions by the state, there can be certain issue. And when the institutions are working at operational level, we have done we have done while making the salient features, while studying the salient features, we have already done how the articles are divided, right? The structure and composition is there, then powers are there, right? So here also same way, challenges can be the act wise challenges which are not there in the act itself. There can be certain challenges regarding institutions, there can be certain challenges regarding operations. So now beginning, if make you remember that there were in the act, there were certain provisions which are compulsory, and there were certain provisions which were voluntary, right? Now voluntary features which were present in the act, states were reluctant to give those powers. For example, gram sabha powers, for example, funds powers. So they had to devolve the funds to the, or the taxes to the Panchayati Raj institution. For example, the functions, the 29 functional items which are listed in 11 schedule, even those were not completely devolved, right? So at institutional level as well as at act level as well, there were certain issues which are with the Panchayati Raj. The first issue is that for any institution, see, all these are interrelated challenges. If you say, ma'am, you are telling a voluntary feature issue hai to institution bhi hai, yes, at the same time you have both the issues in the same institution. Now see, for example, if I say you that Panchayati Raj or panchayats need fund, see, any institution for its working needs three things. First, that it should have those powers, that is functions, to work. Unless it has those functions, it won't be able to work. Then to fulfill that functions, it should have funds, right? It should have finances, and then it should have human resource, that is functionaries. So three things are necessary for smooth functioning of any institution. So first thing, that if the institutions are working, they had to have certain functions. and for those functions they should have certain funds. Now those funds were that were given or that has to be devolved, they were as per the state legislature. So somewhere in the act only there was a issue that voluntary, it has been made voluntary by the parliament for the state legislatures to make, and then they have not devolved it, and because of that they are not able to perform the functions. So at institutional level there is issue, and at operational level, because all the operations remain unfulfilled when it happens. So the financial dependence is there. Lack of Panchayati Raj lacks sufficient financial independence, and they rely heavily on grants. We have already seen this in finance part also, that they rely heavily on grants. Almost 80% is from center and 15% is from state, right? Then there is weak devolution. Many states do not fulfill that 29 subjects, 11 subjects, 11 schedule, right? There is that issue. Then social inequalities is the issue, because when they have to work at the ground level, as I told, that Dr. B.R. Ambedkar said ki, these two issues, patriarchy and caste system, are highly prevalent in villages, so they always remained there. So caste hierarchy and social prejudices are there. For patriarchy, sarpanch pati culture came up, right? Sarpanch pati culture is where the main relatives, they act on behalf of the women of their house, right? So this has happened. Next, at operational level, when capacity challenges are there, when panchayats at ground, when they're working, what challenges they face? First is infrastructure gaps are there. So many panchayats, they do not have their own infrastructure of toilets, drinking water, electricity. There is no digital public infrastructure, digital infrastructure there, that is internet connections are missing. There is digital governance issues, right? Then there are staff issues, that is functionaries, they do not have sufficient staff. They lack secretaries, junior engineers, computer operators, data entry operators. And when we are working towards digital India, do you think panchayats can be left behind? No, they cannot be left behind. And if they cannot be left behind, do you think without their trained staff or digital aware staff we can do work? No, we have to digitize them also. Then only it will be able to do justice with the service delivery at the ground level, right? So without human resource they are facing challenges, and if somehow they have some human resource, there are capacity constraints, they have limited understanding of roles and responsibilities, there is insufficient training in technical and even in administrative part. For example, budget making is not there, how to make the audits, that is not there. So operational and capacity challenges are there. Okay, now this is the slide which will be a one stop solution for you. Here I have listed all the challenges and with sufficient examples and data which you can quote in your examination. So the first is the problem of 3 F's. Just I said that for any institution to work, it need funds, function and functionaries. And however, they are not adequately devolved, which is leading to ineffective governance. The example is in UP, there is lack of fund and staff. Next is that there is huge interference from the upper levels, that is union and the state. So PRI often works as a front officers, means they have to deal with the people directly, but they do not have any power, so they don't know. For example, someone comes to you and you don't know anything, but you are sitting at the front on the reception and everyone is asking you only, but you don't know, the backend team knows. So same happens here, that PRI, Sarpanch and everyone, they works like front offices, but the real autonomy, the real power lies with the union and the state government. And Paul Brass, one of the political scientists, he mentioned that states are reluctant to devolve the power. Next is the Finance Commission. So they are dependent hugely on the funds. There is Finance Commission delays also, and funds are released late. So there is lack of synchronization between state and Central Finance Commission, since their Panchayati Raj are largely devolved on them. Next is there are parallel institutions like social institutions like Khap Panchayat, which were traditionally occurring in or were conducted in the state like Haryana. So when the village people have allegiance. They devote more towards the khap panchayat rather than the formal constitutional panchayati raj structures, and therefore in Haryana, states like Haryana, khap panchayat, the traditional bodies wield more power than the formal, right? Next is reluctance to devolve the powers. So state politicians are reluctant. Not only state politicians, even the bureaucracy is reluctant. For they are not going to devolve the power to the directly elected members of the Panchayati Raj institutions. And the another issue is that for every work to be done, the sarpanch has to visit the bureaucracy. So there is largely control of bureaucracy, state bureaucracies. They need multiple clearances from higher authorities. There is this committee you must quote in your examination, that is Mani Shankar Iyer committee. Mani Shankar Iyer committee said that the failure of panchayat is not only because of political will, but it is also due to absence of bureaucratic desire. Even bureaucracy didn't want this, right? Next is, there is a World Bank study that in India, you can even introduce your question with this, that in India, performance, the they perform best in political decentralization, means you have decentralized the polity from union state to panchayats, but fiscal decentralization has not happened much, and administrative decentralization has not happened at all, because bureaucracy has not done that decentralization, right? Next, there is ambiguity in function, because the clear cut devolution of power has not taken place from the state legislature, because state legislature had voluntary provisions towards it. So there is no formal jurisdiction, there is financial dependency, and in that case, what happens is panchayat, they save less and they invest less. So that is that uh, problem which is vicious in nature. So local governments, they lack the resources to invest and they remain under development. So you must have heard about the vicious cycle of poverty, where the person earns less and invests less. So same happens here. Then they are at ground level, there are social challenges, because the marginalized communities are often sidelined by the elite section. So the upper caste refuses to accept the authority of women and Dalit. So what has happened in that case? They do not abide by them, by the decisions taken by them. They do not let them work properly. So one of the social scientists, Rajni Kothari, has said that village councils are viewed as manipulated by local elites, because elite section is the one which grabs the power. So these are the main challenges of panchayats which are at present moment, and we have to have some solutions towards these issues. So these challenges you will be quoting, and next in the next part we'll be moving towards that over the period of time what all committees are formed and what all they have recommended, right? Because what happens is, when before 1992 all the committees were there to see the performance of it, and they led to constitutionalization. Even after constitutionalization, there are challenges, they are not able to work properly. Then also, time to time, again several committees were formed, that recommended that what should be done, what should be the solutions, and your best answer will be from those committees only, right? So you will be quoting those committees and writing those examples, those solutions, so that your answer looks comprehensive, well knowledged. So we'll be doing this part in the next video. Do catch up in the next video. Thank you so much.